Hello guys, Chris here and welcome to episode 23 of the Pocket Podcast. This one is a super inspiring story today. We meet with the absolute legends and powerhouse couple Meg and Will from Mega and Mega Run. These guys do some awesome stuff. But more importantly, their story is so inspiring. Will opens up about things he has never shared publicly before, about dramas with family, about being a millionaire at 24 and then losing everything and having to start again. This was super cool and I was engaged the whole time and I think you guys will be too. So I cannot wait to dive straight into this episode with Meg and Will. So that's enough of me talking and let's get straight into it. We need to take a minute to thank our sponsors of the podcast, Switch Nutrition. More specifically, I want to talk about these two products right here and foundational health. There are so many different supplements online and different people telling you this and that, but it's so important that we strip it right back to what are the foundations that our body actually needs to make sure we're putting our best foot forward every single day. And these two products, I take one first thing in the morning and one directly just before bed. And I sleep like a baby and I feel energized and hydrated when I take this one in the morning. So the Hydrate, I take with a liter of water. It's also got a nootropic in it called coffee berry, which helps me prolong having my coffee throughout the day because it's a nootropic that helps with brain function. So I can get my work done early in the morning without taking any caffeine supplements or coffee. And then the Adrenal is a sleep formula that I have before bed every single night. The chocolate flavor I make kind of like a hot chocolate. And this is amazing. It's well renowned. It's the best thing in the market. They've been around for like 8 years now. Maybe even more. Don't quote me on that one. But I've been taking it for at least 3 years myself. And every single night I love this and I look forward to this. So if you want to try out any of Switch's products, you can actually go to the link in the description down below or the show notes and you go to my collections page on their website. It has these two supplements alongside some of the other ones that I do take, and you can use code Chris Griffin and you'll get 20% off your entire order, or you can just go to switchnutrition.com.au and use the code Chris Griffin and you'll get 20% off all of your order. Without further ado, you guys enjoy. Thank you so much.
That's so nice.
It's so good that we can do the catch up beforehand. You know how I was saying let's catch up beforehand so we can just have some context on each other before we get into the pod.
Get in like this. Hello, how are you?
No, because you can just jump straight into the good
but
stuff.
But now also I kind of go, I can prep so much for a meeting and a podcast, which I've got so many notes here, and I'm kind of looking at it and I'm going like, do I even talk about some of this? I got so much more new stuff I want to talk about, which is so awesome. So we're going to dive into so much today, which is going to be so good. But Meg and Will, thank you so much for coming on the show today. But before the show, I got you to write down a quote for me. Something that you love, something that you live by, something that came to mind straight away. And you guys wrote, "It is through the feats of others that we realize what is possible. It is through the feats of our own that we realize we are capable of more." I'm so intrigued by that. I saw it on your website. I actually had it written down, but I'm so intrigued by what that quote means to both of you.
Well, it's actually Meg's quote, and it just captures everything we do, from the run clubs to Mega, the running apparel, the races we do, how we live our life. Everything that we do is captured in that one quote. But it's Meg's quote, so I'll let Meg break it down.
Well, the first part means that literally what it says it means is it's through the feats of others that we realize what is possible. I think in my life particularly, I mean, we actually haven't spoken much about it before, but I was quite shy, I was quite negative, fearful of most things in my life. And I think I realized that I actually use people doing incredible things who had come from worse than what I had to encourage myself to go on and do whatever it was that was scaring me or whatever excuse I had for myself. And so the perfect example is the 4-minute mile, as in no one had done it. One person does it. And then 2 days later, 4 people had done it or something like that?
Yeah, within a couple of weeks after that, 20 people had gone out and gone sub 4.
Yeah, 100%. And I look at that and go, we need to be exposed to what's possible.
Definitely.
And that's what other people do. And this is the same thing with mentors. It's interesting. I get asked a lot of questions about mentors. And my response is they go what's so powerful about a mentor? And I'm like, we need to get this clear. A mentor is not going to do the work for you.
Yeah.
They're supposed to give you the belief that it's possible and some tips and tricks on how they got there. But then you got to go ahead and do the work. I think that first part of that quote is so powerful because too many people are not exposed to a life that they can live. So they never strive towards anything. And that's why when they don't do any work or they sit on their ass all day, I don't blame them. Because I'm like, they haven't been exposed to what's possible, or they have and they don't have any belief in themselves. So of course they're not doing anything. And what about that second part of the quote?
Well, it's interesting you say the belief in themselves. That's the second part of the quote, is that it's through the feats of your own that you realize what's possible. Because every time we talk about running, so we are runners, but we don't even really classify ourselves as runners, but we run for the mindset that it provides. So every time, everyone has felt it, whether it's for 100 meters or 100 Ks, everyone wants to stop at some stage when they're running. There's that little voice in their head, it says slow down, or convinces you that you shouldn't run the distance that you set out to in the first place. And I think learning to push past that point of wanting to stop is what actually builds confidence in yourself, that you don't have to listen to the voice of self-doubt, and that you are capable of anything as long as, one, you're willing to put in the work, and two, you believe it's possible. And so I get goosebumps when I talk about it, because it means so much to me, because doing the little things and building confidence, true confidence in myself, as in that's the true stuff. It's the character. It's what you know you're capable of doing, as in that's things that no one can take away from you. And for me, that is definitely where I built myself. And I think when Will and I met each other, I was towards the end of that process. Well, it never ends really, but as in I was really confident in myself and who I am, what I'm capable of doing. And that's why that quote resonates so much. But I didn't expect it to impact so many other people's lives as well, which we have through Mega Run. And now obviously building our own brand is the physical application of that as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I just look at that and go, yes, time and time again, when you're doing something and there's an end, it's like, okay, there's 10 kilometers, or I'm going to run this far, or I've got to do 10 reps. If you didn't know the amount of reps, like how hard are those last reps? Because you're at the end, and so your body just, it goes, okay, it's near the end. It's supposed to be hard here. So then your 9th and 10 reps really hard.
Definitely.
It's so true.
But if you're striving for 15, all of a sudden the 9th and 10 isn't as hard, even though it's the same weight.
Yes.
So it's so crazy about being able to say, no, that's what I'm thinking is not actually the reality. It's just the noise inside the head. It's the same thing as like when your alarm goes off in the morning. The night before, you set that alarm for a reason.
Yeah.
But then when you wake up, there's like 20 different reasons as to why it's better that you sleep instead of
100 reasons.
Instead of you sleeping, you're like, oh, yeah, look, 8 hours. It's probably like 8 hours. I only got 7.5. 8 hours. I probably should press snooze because it's going to do me better because I'll get more sleep. Yeah. But how's this? Every single time you press snooze, how do you feel when you actually get out of bed?
So shit.
Terrible.
Because you said, it's the commitments that you hold to yourself that matter. You said to yourself that you were doing something. You didn't do it. Your mind beat you. That's the reality. Those noises in your head beat you.
That's a mic drop right there.
That's a mic drop. Yeah. But what I'm going to ask you guys is, I'm going to dive straight into this. How important is it doing it together? Like you guys do everything together.
We do.
We haven't been asked that. It's a really good question. It's the foundation of everything that we do. And it's interesting because not everyone loves what we do. And especially the ones that have given us resistance over the past few years, they're the ones that understand that the least. They don't understand that. They're like, it's just a business, or it's just a run club. It's just this. And they're like, why don't you just do it separately? And you do this and you do that. And it's the whole core of it is us doing it together. And we're a good friend of ours that's given us some great insights over the past few months. He said to us that the Everest of life is your relationship. It's not the races. It's not going and climbing some crazy mountain. It's not winning high rocks. The hardest thing you guys will do and the greatest challenge is the relationship that you guys have. So if you guys you'll be doing two things simultaneously. You'll be building the business or doing the race, but then you're also doing it together. And I mean, that's what makes it special, is that you have someone else there to show up for, and have someone else that actually push through with it. Because our greatest memories is when we're doing, say, the 100-mile race. Man, the pain in that race was huge, brother. As in, it was just, you get in those races and you think, why do I do this stuff? But then when you're there with someone that you love, and from how much time we spend with each other now, we train together, we work together, we live together. When we get in those moments, we don't even need to talk. You just look at each other, you just know. So when we're racing high rocks, we don't even talk when we race or beforehand. We just know what's about to go down. So to answer your question, man, it's everything. Knowing that you can go through and achieve something in life that you're that passionate about with the person you love the most. As in, I hope that everyone gets to experience at least something like that in their life, because it's why we do what we do.
Yeah, and also with that is it's the biggest challenge. I love the way you guys look at each other. And also the way that...
There's a big gap here right now.
Yeah. And also the way that you were looking at me explaining that, I was like, fuck yeah, there's passion in that. But it's the hardest thing, but it's also the key to your emotional well-being and happiness as well. It's the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
And so you kind of go with the more hard, the more rewarding it is. Obviously, it's like the good and bad, yin and yang. But you also need to, like, if you don't take risks in your relationships and you don't take risks on, you know, investing into that person, that one, then there's going to be this gap in your life, because I think that's so important. Like, and as you said, like, we're doing it together. We're in this together. And I think I admire that. Like, it's really, really cool to see that you've done that. But I want to go back to when you guys met. I saw you decided to go on a run someday and you met then. Like, let's go back to there. We will get back to speaking with Meg and Will in just 1 minute, but first I want to tell you about this thing that's on my wrist called a Whoop. It is the ultimate health and fitness tracker. It has been a game changer for me and millions of people all around the world when it comes to achieving our health and fitness goals. Now, I have a gift for one of you. If any of you guys are interested in picking up a Whoop, you can go to the link in the description down below or the show notes, or go to join.whoop.com/Chris, and you will get 1 month completely free, and they'll send you out a band for free to try out for yourself. And I'm going to be choosing one of you guys that gets the free trial of the Whoop on my link, and I'm going to give you a colored band, whatever color you want. Now, this one obviously stands out like a sore thumb. It's nice and bright and colorful, but there's a bunch of different options for you to choose from. I'm going to be choosing one of you guys that uses my link. So all I need you to do is, after you place your order, send me a screenshot of that on Instagram at @morechrisgriffin, and I will be choosing one of you guys that orders a Whoop within the first 7 days of this episode airing. But without further ado, let's get back to the show with Meg and Will.
This is a pretty funny story. Yeah, so it was actually my brother. My brother originally hit Meg up, hit her up on on Instagram or messages, whatever it was, and they never actually caught up. And the night that they were meant to catch up, I was there. And so I was with my brother at dinner. Meg was meant to come and her friend, and then Meg and her friend just didn't come. And it wasn't like an organized thing. It was like, hey, we're out. Where are you? Like, let's meet up. And then it would have been, I don't know, 8 months later, my brother again showed me a photo of Meg on Instagram and said, because I've always loved running, he's like, yo, look at this girl. She loves running and she's fit. And it was a photo of Meg on her Instagram, and she'd started this 10K Sunday thing, which is by herself, running 10Ks every Sunday by herself. And I saw the photo, and one, I looked at it and went, this girl's really attractive. But then two, I thought, I don't know any girls that run 10K on Sundays by themselves.
This was before running was trendy, so no one was running. Everyone was partying.
It wasn't a thing. But I think it's just, we talk about divine time, and everything in life comes down to divine time. And at that point in my life, I was so done with hooking up with chicks. As in, I'd done that. I'd been doing that for 10 years. And I actually wanted to, not that I was looking for a relationship, but I just didn't want to be around people that had no substance, especially when it came to girls. And so when I saw this photo, I thought, well, this is really cool. So I just shot her a message and said, yo, love the photo, love the fact that you run. Let's go for a run sometime. And then that's how the whole of everything you see now started, was just the two of us going for a run. And the reason why it kicked off was because when I went down there to go for a run with Meg, a part of me just thought, oh, look, she's a good looking girl from the Gold Coast, to go for a run, we'll hook up, see what happens, probably nothing. And then
right.
that'll be done. As in, that was just the cycle I was in. And when we went on the first run, my favorite topic to talk about is people finding what they're passionate about and then helping them actually kickstart that process. I love it. And we're on the run, and Meg just hits me with just the topic. She says, I'm studying physio. I'm a bit lost. I don't know exactly what I want to do with my life. And I feel like I've got this thing in me that's capable of just anything, but I don't know where to put my energy and my effort, and I just don't know what I'm doing. And so what I found is that you can't help everyone. And I've spent a lot of time helping people that went nowhere. So then I realized, well, why don't I just give her 3 things to do? I was like, buy this book, do these 2 other things, and then see how you go. That was on a Sunday. And then on the Tuesday, I gave her a call. I said, yo, just checking in. Like, I really enjoyed the run on Sunday. How'd you go? She's like, yeah, I bought the book. I'm 4 chapters in. I did this thing. I've done these 7 other things. Now I'm stuck here. What do I do? And that was it. I just went, this is really, really cool. And so it's just more than just the physical attraction side of things. I was really attracted to the fact that she just got shit done. And it's so rare because people in the moment, right? We can sit here in this podcast, we can hype each other up, we can finish a run, be like, yeah, we're going to crush this week, dude. The people that actually go out and do that, it's the 1% of the 1%. And so to have a good looking girl that was running every Sunday, 10K by herself, that didn't drink, that didn't party, that said, I've got something in me that I know I've got it, but I don't even know where to start with it. For me, I was like, yo, this is something that I want to be a part of. And then that was the start of it, man. And then a few weeks later, Meg kept running on Sundays. I joined her on a few more. And then we had a few friends join us. And then one Sunday, it's just complete random showed up. We're like, oh, who do you know? Do you know Meg? They're like, nah. Like, do you know Will? Like, no, we just saw it on Meg's social media posts. We're like, far out. And so then Meg said, I want to call it the Mega Run. And then I reckon within 4 to 5 weeks later, there was 100 people coming every Sunday.
It was dope.
It was pumping.
Wow. And so you had like within 4 weeks, within a month of going, okay, it's just you two running, there was 100 people rocking up on Sunday in Brisbane or Gold Coast?
This was Gold Coast. But Meg just got more active on social media. She started to say to people, yo, guys, come. Like, you're all welcome to come. We run any distance up to 10 kilometers, any levels you want. Just come and actually just come for a run. And it just went, because there was nothing like it. It was just, oof. This was the start of 2021.
Okay, yeah, because I think I definitely remember that. I was in Sydney at the time, but so you guys everything just took off from that moment in terms of like running, your presence in the space, and kind of like what happened after that moment. You were like, okay, there's 100 people coming down. Like, where did it go from there?
Well, I think the most important part of the Mega Run story is that I was never doing it for other people, as in I was running on Sundays because, one, I wanted to challenge myself over every single weekend, the discipline of showing up no matter what, rain, hail or shine, whether you feel sick or whatever it is. 6 a.m. every Sunday I was there. And also because when I first moved to the Gold Coast, there was a huge party scene and I just didn't, it's not my thing. So a lot of people said, and the people that I was actually close with were saying, we'll come if it's on Saturday morning, but we're not coming if it's on Sunday morning because we want to go out on Saturday night. Can you just put it on Saturday morning? And I said, guys, I think you're missing the point. And the point is it's social on a Sunday. We're running to push ourselves so that we don't go out on a Saturday night. It's a early Saturday night and then you early to bed Saturday night and then run Sunday morning. And so the idea is that I never started it with the intention to bring other people along. But as soon as we had that very first run and 3 people came from my social media and I saw them, they came and ran their first 10K that they'd done in a long time. And I realized, man, it's so amazing pushing yourself, but then helping someone else push themselves and then having this increase in self-belief in themselves was so fulfilling for me. And obviously Will as well. So then
yeah, it was phenomenal.
From that moment, we realized that, one, we're going to be here every weekend anyway. We might as well have other people come along. And people came along because they would come and push their limits, find out they were capable of more. And that feels good. And then more people started coming along. And interestingly, I feel like initially there was this huge hype around it. It was kind of this thing where you come get your social media photo and
yeah, it was the cool thing to do. Like you had to, like if you wanted to get a social media pic, it had to be at Sunday at Mega Run.
Because the only other run club at the time, I think, was more of an athletic one, as in you came and paid to do your session. They told you what to do, and it was only if you were a runner per se. Whereas Mega Run's not really for runners. We're more people who want to push their limits through running, is the way I would say it. Mm. And so over the time, we've seen some people drop off and new people come about that just love the core purpose of what it is. And that's why it's continued for so long, is because we love it, because we would be there no matter if there's people there or not. It just makes it better that there are people there.
Yeah. It's the feeling of creating a run club though as well. I had one in Sydney.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that.
And we had 100 people come down every Wednesday morning.
Sick.
And
that's awesome.
It was wild. I missed 2 things from Sydney since I've been here for 3 months, nearly 4 months. I missed my run club and the cafe, the depot that I would always go to. They're like the main 2 things I miss about about Bondi, because the feeling of having this place that you've created that people come to, relationships are made out of it. Like there was like flourishing relationships that they met at our run club, like all this really cool stuff. You get all these people coming up to you and saying all these amazing things, and you kind of go like, holy shit, this is something good for the world.
You're making a real difference.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you know what it is? It's connection, as in everything's on social media nowadays. No one speaks to each other. So I think the amazing thing that run clubs have done is made it easy for a guy to talk to a girl and a girl to talk to whoever, as in it's not so rigid. I get goosebumps talking about it, as in you can just come and it's not seedy, it's not creepy. You can just talk to someone that without being accused of hitting on them or whatever it is. I think that's what's so special about run clubs. It's just relaxed, pushing yourself together, hurting together. And also I feel like the conversations at run clubs are so much better and more depth, because at least you're talking about running. Why are you here? How did you start running? What are you motivated by? That's the kind of conversations that we hear at our run club, which is why we love it as well. It's there's no, you have to get real with yourself, especially when you're pushing yourself in running, because what drives you is going to be completely different to what drives me. And if you want to find your limit in running, you need to be motivated by whatever that is with you. So you've got to get real with yourself. That's where the best runners come from, is they're able to dig deep into their insecurities, dig deep into what they pride themselves on or what they're confident in themselves. And that's how they get to do those crazy distances or progress in their running journeys.
I love it. And that's why it's so cool how you guys keep talking about like running's like life and referring back to it. And we'll talk a lot more about running, because like, and another thing about run clubs is like community, right? And there's this word, it's like community. It's a bit of a buzz term.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a bit of a stained word these days.
It's a stained word. But when you actually strip back what community is, and I learned this with my run club too, because like when you think about, I want to build a community. Okay, how do you build a community? It's not let's go build a community.
Dude,
it's let's start something, and people that are interested in that have similar interests meet on that thing, which is running. And by doing so, a byproduct of all these people coming together early in the morning that focus on their health, their fitness, and like to run and socialize and want to connect with people that are similar to them, you build community. And so when you understand that it's like you're going to build community by aligning similar interests with everyone, not just building community. And you kind of look at that with a run club and go,
dude, it's spot on.
That's why run clubs work. And that's why community is built off the back of a run club, because everyone's going for their own reason, which is somewhat aligned with everyone else too. And when you talk it on a Sunday morning as well, you kind of realize that, all right, to go on this, you're not going out the night before. So you're kind of attracting those people that are trying to change their habits as well, maybe, and go, okay, I'm going to commit to this so then I don't have a big night on Saturday. Would that be like a certain character that would come to one of your run clubs?
It's a filter, as in the Sunday definitely filters out people that want to go and get smashed on a Saturday. People will still do that, but they only do it a few times. And the people who come consistently are so dedicated, as in during the week they're dedicated, that most of them don't drink anymore because they're finding fulfillment elsewhere. They're getting after it. And I think the coolest thing is the Sunday run is together. So some people will come to Mega Run initially, and that will be the only thing that they do in their week. And then all of a sudden they go, okay, now I don't want to go on a Saturday because I want to prioritize my Sunday run. Now I want to eat healthier during the week because I want to do better at my Sunday run. Now I'm going to go to track on Thursdays because I want to do better at my Sunday run. And they also are surrounded by all these people who are in their corner. As in, that's the one rule we say at Mega Run is no negativity. Anyone is welcome, but no negativity at Mega Run. And that's what it's about, is no one, as in if you're at Mega Run and you say, I want to be an astronaut or something crazy, no one's going to say, oh, you shouldn't do that. They're going to say, oh man, like I know this guy that works in NASA and let's get you a spacesuit and whatever it is. They're just going to be encouraging.
Everyone just gets around you. There's none of that, oh dude, you can't do that. It's yeah, you can.
Supportive.
Yeah, it's like if another human being's done that, of course you can do that if you want to dedicate yourself to doing that. And
no
it's
ceilings.
Just people that genuinely want to see other people win. And it's so incredibly rare in this age. And I know you've experienced it because we just heard your incredible story. Your background's dope. And you would have experienced this, and this happens hand in hand in personal and also mainly in business life that I've seen, is that when you're starting out and you're trying something, people will just not support you. And then there's going to be people that do support you, that are doing it, that are more successful than you are at it, whether it's business or running, whatever it is. But then of those people, the ones that support you at the start, they're actually the ones to watch out for. Because once you start getting better, because you're locked in, and they go, oh, whoa, this person's coming for me. They're doing better times than I am. The business is growing more than I am. They've got more staff than I am. They're the ones that turn. And they're only happy to help because they feel like they are the more successful person. As soon as they perceive that you're about to pass them, then they're like the worst because they go and stab you in the back. And there's a very, very small percentage of people that doesn't matter how wealthy, how fast they're running, whatever it is, they just want to see people win because it makes them happy.
They want you doing well, just not better than them.
It couldn't be more accurate.
They want you doing well, just not better than them. And that's just the reality. You're going to have those people all the time.
Yeah, that's life. But how great is it, man, when you find those people that you can just tell it's an energy. You can just tell. It doesn't matter if we had a podcast and you had a podcast and ours was bigger than yours and then yours got bigger than ours. We'd just be sitting here thinking, dude, they got to put the work in.
Or actually we'd be sitting saying, what can we do to improve?
Well, you know what it is, and that's the thing. And this is this whole concept that I live by is like, as the tide rises, all the boats do too. And
That's a
I haven't heard
saying.
that before.
And like people want to try and like, and I remember one of my earliest podcasts, I had Sam Fricker, an Olympic diver, and he's like, he said this quote that's so true. He's like, you don't build the biggest building in the room by tearing everyone else's down. You build the biggest building by building the biggest building. And it's kind of this thing around when I say as the tide rises, all the boats do too. If you're in this harbour with me, I'm trying to lift you up because as you're rising, I'm rising. And as everyone's rising, we're all rising. If you can allow it though, because when I can see someone else doing something good, they're doing something good. How can we level our game up? And if you truly look at it, you will be able to level up your game and you'll be able to keep leveling up. And I think there's no value in tearing someone else down.
Zero value.
Well, I would say too, if you're building a building and then there's someone next to you that's already got their building built or is building as well. If you're spending half your time tearing theirs down, you're just wasting the time that you could be spending building yours up is what I think. Is in so many people are distracted by putting people down. And if you just put half of the energy that you're putting into that into your own building, imagine how amazing it would be.
But you know what it is? Is when you tear someone else's down, it's words and it doesn't require any action off the back of it.
Oh, that's
it's
so
easy.
true. Straight fire from Chris.
That's a great one.
It's easy. But when you have to build your own, that requires hard work. That requires you getting slammed on your face and get back up when no one's watching. That requires all the times that you've got to put in this work, even though you don't know how to do it. And then by doing so, you grow. Whereas you can just say, that guy's got a shit podcast and then get on with your day.
So true.
And
it requires no effort.
So that's why it's easy.
And also you're facing the reality that you might just not be able to build that
And
building
you know what
very
you
well.
get though? When you tear someone down, you get a little dopamine hit.
Yes.
So you get the same feeling of succeeding without doing any work, hence why everyone does it.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. But honestly, the most freeing thing is when you can escape that.
Yeah.
Like what people don't realize is, yes, it's easy and that's why they do it. And you get a dopamine hit so it feels good. But what happens is, and this is why I catch people up when someone talks shit about someone in front of me. I go, oh, I'll go tell them that. And then they freak out and they go, oh, no, don't tell them that. And the reason I say that though, when someone's talking shit.
Wait, let me just call them. You can tell them that.
Yeah. But the reason I tell them
That's
that though,
great.
the reason I say that is because they don't actually realize, but when you're talking shit, that's bottling up in your mind because now you're worried about the fact that you've talked shit. Are they going to find out? And is the person I've just told going to tell them? And all these things are playing on your mind.
That's a horrible place to be in.
And so then you have these little things where it actually bottles up in your mind and it weighs you down. And then imagine doing that time and time again with different people. And subconsciously you're going, okay, there's all these different things that I've said bad about someone. When you can remove that and not talk shit about any people, it's like you've just dropped this massive backpack off and you feel so much lighter.
It's cheat code.
Yeah, it's the
Because then you're
ticket.
just ripping. You got nothing holding you back. But think about this. As in, that's quite a common concept you spoke about with the building and tearing it down. But I like to think of it this way, as in when you completely remove yourself from the idea of comparing yourself to others and being negative and being in a really great space, which I feel like 99% of the time we're operating in, why would you want to build a city and be the only big tower in it? Because that's not a city. That's a village with one big tower. I would never want to have that. As in, why would you not want to be building your building as high as you can and telling everyone else all the secrets and how to build a great building? And you can build an entire city that's killing it. But so many people, they want to be the one tower in a village. It's like, where's the success in that?
You know what's hard about that hard about that too, is when you're the only one, it's fucking lonely. It's really lonely. And you're never going to get out of that lonely chapter. And so when you bring, like, what's the fucking point if you're doing it alone? What's the point? Like, if our key to emotional well-being and happiness is having connection and people with us, both loving and platonically, if you tear everyone else's down, you're going to have no one. So you can be successful as you like, but who are you sharing it with?
Well, what do you classify as success, I think, is a big question.
Yeah, what's your metric of success? And obviously yours is to see other people win, because it makes you feel great. And it's like, if people can win off the back of seeing what you're doing, it's a great feeling. And the way we get to see that, we get to experience it every single week. You watch someone's face at a mega run when they go out and they do something they didn't think was possible. They run a distance they thought, I can't do that. Or I'll meet someone in the morning and I love doing it. And I did it with a mate, Cody, recently. When you set a time for them or they set a time for themselves, they don't think they're going to get, they're scared on it, and they go and they hit that time, they finish that run.
So good.
Dude, these limits that just get blown off their mind, you got to see them at breakfast afterwards. They're a different person. They're a different person because they now have just thought, I've been telling myself this narrative that, and it's something as silly, right, as I can't run more than 5K. And then they go and run 6K. And everyone's like, oh, big deal. Bro, that is a metaphor for life. What other 5K limits have you got on your life, in your relationships, in your jobs, in travel, in a business, ideas, anything? And just by breaking it once through running, boom, chain affecting the whole life.
Yeah, that's where capable of more comes from.
Having the belief that it's there. You're talking about the 4-minute mile or whatever it is as well. But it's funny, there's that other one where the person who climbed Mount Everest, he was the first person to ever climb Mount
Tenzing
Everest.
Norgay, yeah.
Sir Edmund Hillary.
Sir Edmund Hillary.
I
Yeah.
think of Tenzing because he's Nepali.
Yeah.
Sir Edmund Hillary, is that his name?
Sir Edmund Hillary, yeah, he's a Kiwi.
So he got interviewed after he climbed it and said, why do you want to climb it? And he said, because it's there.
That's a great answer.
I just kind of go, man, like it's there. So why not? Like, why not give it a go?
Yeah, why does it need a reason?
Yeah, why does it need a reason?
They need to go.
But then he does it, and then all of a sudden people can do it. It's the same. It's having the belief that it's there. We've gone on a little tangent, and I love this because we're talking about different thoughts and opinions on different things. But I want to strip it right back and go before you guys met. And I want to take it back to what you guys were doing before then. I had a little stalk on the socials and did my research. But Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were always into fitness and health for quite a while, were you? Or was there a period where it all changed for you? Or what were you doing before Mega and before you met Will?
Good question. From when I was really young, I was an elite gymnast from when I was 3 years old. So my whole life has always been activity based, but I was in gymnastics from when I was 3 until I was about 10, and then I was in sports aerobics from when I was about 11 till 16, which not many people know what sports aerobics is. It's not a very big sport in Australia, but it's big in Europe. Australians are very good at it, but it's not well supported, so not that many people do it. But I think the best way you would explain it is it's 2 minutes of really high intensity exercise or performance.
It's the craziest floor routine you've ever seen.
Yeah.
No flips, but like jumping up and kicking both your legs in the air, doing handstands, doing one arm push-ups, single leg squats, and then you have to smile and go nuts for 2 minutes. Bro, it is out of control how hard this thing is.
I see this maniac stuff you do, like these push-up challenges.
That's
and
where
stuff.
it comes from.
And I go, how did you even do that?
Yeah, it's from aerobics.
Yeah.
But I also think when I started aerobics, actually, I was so bad that I started in a school team. So it was a team. I ended up competing individually, but when I first started, I was in the bottom team of sports aerobics, and I was so bad that I was in the back row and the chick in the front row did a high leg kick and fell on her butt. So that's how bad I was. And then within 6 years, I actually ended up becoming world champion for the sport in solos. So from that, I think has really instilled in me that if you do work hard and stick at it and you have sole focus on something, that anything is possible and that it will pay off in the end eventually. And then after sports aerobics, actually the second part of the biggest realization I had that really shaped my life was I won when I was 16. And then the following year I went back and competed again. And I was top age group the following year. So you don't normally win when you're not top age group. But I did, and I didn't see it coming. I just love the sport, and I won, and it was amazing. Probably still the best feeling I've ever had, apart from getting married.
No,
it was definitely the best feeling.
I definitely respect that.
Yeah. But when I went back the following year, because there was so much pressure on me to win again, I just focused on train to win, train to win, train to win. That's all I was doing. Create the best routine to win, to win. And there was no real focus on the joy of the sport or the journey or the experience or anything like that. Anyway, I went to Worlds and I came second by 0.1 overall. And so for me, it felt like a disaster. I'd worked the whole year to win, lost by 0.1, couldn't even be stoked to be second in the world, was just the whole year was wasted in my head. And so it made me realize, because then I thought, okay, I was going to stop aerobics after that year and go out on a win. And I thought I've got to go back and compete again and win. And then I started training the next year and I just realized I have not learned anything. As in, when I won because I loved the sport and I trained hard and I loved performing, and then I won and it was amazing. But then the following year I was just training to win and I lost the love for the sport. And so that was when I realized how important it is not only to, obviously I want to win, don't get me wrong, but you've got to actually love what you're doing, or else if you don't win, it's not worth it. And so that's when I started to really explore passion and what I wanted to do with my life and things like that. And I actually wanted to be a vet, which is a bit of a random one, a bit of a left fielder. And I thought I would be one. Well, actually, out of school, I didn't believe I could do it. I didn't think I was smart enough.
I just want to jump in here. People think from Meg's social media that she's just a social media ditz that can do one-arm push-ups. As in, Meg is super smart. And it's the thing that I actually love about her the most is when she talks to people, especially when she speaks to people about, like say, supplements. And she speaks with the owner of the business or the person who's creating the supplements. And she starts getting on this nerd tangent talking about food and intake and supplements. As in, it's just awesome. So as in she went through school, you got the equivalent of OP1 or
OP3. To get into vet, you need an OP1. But OP is on a scale of 1 to 24. I know it's changed now. They have ATAR, so it might not make sense to some people. But I just thought because I didn't get a 1, I couldn't be a vet. And then after I got, I thought, well, my second passion is fitness. And I had started posting on social media. And interestingly, was getting criticism of saying that what I was posting was arrogant and, you know, things like that, which I was only posting workouts and photos saying what I was doing, giving advice. And so right from the moment that I started, I feel like there was resistance, but I just loved it. So I kept doing it. And I loved for every message that was critical, I would never really get messages, actually. It was more like personal comments from friends and things like that it was silly. But every message that I would get on Instagram saying, you have helped me, or I started running because of you, or I did this workout and it made me feel so good, as in that's what makes it all worth it. And then did my Bachelor of Exercise and Nutrition straight out of school, still didn't know what I wanted to do. Went and worked in a vet for a year to see if that's what I wanted to do, because I actually ended up getting accepted into vet. But it's 5 years at Gatton and I didn't know if that's what I wanted to commit to. Worked in a vet for a year and realised the reality of the job was very different to what I thought, which is the best thing I ever did, because otherwise I would have gone and studied for 5 years and then gone, I have to do this because I've just spent so long and money and time doing that. And then I went back and tried physio, did it for a year, didn't love that either. And then that's literally when I met Will. And all throughout that time, I was still doing my social medias, and I have been doing that for a long time. And purely because I love it. I think anything that you're going to do long term has to be core within you, or else you just won't stick to it.
I want to go back to that. Love it, by the way. What's really interesting though is how you go from like one thing to the next, but then what makes you want to not invest any further is because you tried a little bit and go, oh, this isn't for me. And too many people go through that whole degree, get to the end, then they go into the job after spending 4 years in a bunch of debt, and then they go, fuck, this isn't for me. I can't spend the rest of my life doing this. And so then they go in this big little crisis. But I want to go back to when you said you won underage, then you came to the next one. I resonate with that a lot. There's so much pressure that comes with expectation, isn't there? When you expect to do something, there's a level of pressure there. Because I talk about this all the time, but when your expectations here and your reality's here, the gap between that's disappointment. And you've obviously had all this expectation that you're going to do this and win this, and that's all that matters. And then what happens is you don't get it. And so you're disappointed. Whereas the year before, no expectation. You just loved it. You just wanted to do it. So the reason it's the best moment of your life is because you had zero expectation, meaning the gap is massive. And that's why you're so happy. And so for me, I learned this lesson as well, because I was playing footy and I remember I was trained so hard. I did all the extras, but then ended up overtraining, getting injured. And then I didn't make the Australian team, and it all that went down. And I remember I was just like so upset on my bed, and I didn't learn the lesson though, and I did something else, and then I got disappointed again. And then when my social media blew up and I launched a program and sold nothing, I got disappointed again and again, until the point where I was like, okay, I can't have any expectation, so everything is a bonus. And then now you go, okay, if I don't have expectation, I can't get disappointed. And so it was such an interesting thing how you spoke about that. But when you lost that and you came second, which is still amazing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But again, your expectation was 1, so you're going to be disappointed. But when you were in that moment, like how did you feel? Because you went from being the happiest moment to working so hard to then not being like, oh, fuck, I'm a failure. Like, how did you feel back then? You came second in the world.
Second, I'm a loser.
But that's how you felt. You said you were like, I'm not satisfied.
Now when I'm talking about it, I think what happens when you're so hyper-focused on one pinpoint goal, that's literally all you can see. And so I think had I just been so excited to be at Worlds, loving the sport that I did, then you get to experience not just the win, because I'm still pro goals, as in, don't get me wrong, when the gun goes off, like I'm going all in, I want to win. That's what I want. But then if you're only hyper-focused on the goal, you don't get to experience any of what else is happening around you. And it's actually one of our, he's a mentor to us, Trev Hendy. He gave us this quote or perspective that it's not win at all costs, it's win on all levels. And so I still think you can have, I do understand what you mean with expectation. I think there's a difference probably between expectation and goal.
Very different.
Yeah,
very different.
That's the goal, but you just got to go being more open to everything that you're experiencing around you. And I do think maybe it's age or life experience. Life experience is probably the better word, but I think I just have so much better perspective now, thinking that there's so much more in life than just winning, as in experiencing it with Will, or, you know, experiencing the culture of where you are. As in, I can't tell you much about, I travelled internationally for this sport 4 years I went to Worlds, and I can't actually tell you much about the rest of the sport apart from that day that I won. And so that's just come with age, that I've life experience, I should say, that I have learnt to experience more than that. But in terms of the disappointment of coming second, it really felt like my world was ending a bit.
But you have every right to have that expectation as well. And what's the point of trying if you're going for a second place? No one wants, like,
people that say to me, oh, I'm just going to go do this race and just have a bit of fun. It's like, brother, if you pay race entry for that race and there's a number that goes on you, you go for everything. As in, you give it everything you possibly have got, or just go for a run by yourself on a Tuesday. As in, like, be competitive, have goals, have expectations. I think it's a great thing. But I think Meg, now that and Trev did, is like, you can win on all levels and not just win at the pinpoint of one goal.
Yeah, but as I was saying, like, goals, and you need the goals.
The goals
are
great,
so
dude.
different than expectation, because expectation is like, I need this,
to feel
whereas
good,
goal is
yeah.
I'm striving towards this.
Yes.
And like, you need to have a target, because if you don't know where you're shooting, then like you need to know where you're shooting. You need the targets. These are so important. So yeah, definitely not shooting down goal setting. That's very important. I just find it's really interesting for when you have expectation on something, because you can get kind of shot in the foot. And so then you kept progressing down. You were doing different things, like you tried to become a vet, and thank God you got into that when you were only a year down the line, not 4.
Yes.
And then physio, and then you met this beautiful man over here because you decided to go for a run. And before you guys met, what were you doing, Will?
He's got a cool story.
I just want to add one more thing to Meg's story. This is a very funny part, was Meg's mum thought she was losing her mind a bit, because Meg just kept saying to her mum for a whole year, Mum, I feel like I'm going to meet someone that knows business and they're going to help me with business. Like, I think I need to do business.
For
but I'm
perspective,
gonna
I
meet
wasn't just
someone.
saying it out of nothing, but your parents do what parents do and ask you, so what's your plans? What are you doing? And I'm going, Mum, I think I'm just going to meet someone. They're going to teach me about business, and I think I'm supposed to do business, but I don't know anything about business or what. I used to think there was just business people, as in people were just meant to be businessmen, and that just wasn't me. I just didn't really understand how it worked. And obviously you go and learn, if you study business, you learn kind of the practicalities of business, but I don't necessarily think that's the best way to learn business. It's through practical. And I just realized that business is pretty much just showing up, having a crack and sticking at it and making it work. It's not necessarily a set way to do it. But yeah,
Failing fast.
Dude, that's it. But you nailed it at the start of the podcast when you were saying that people don't know, right? And Meg just didn't know. She's like, oh, you just know business. So she kept telling her mum, like, at least 20 times. Her mum's like, okay, Meg, this chick's a bit lost. And she said, I'm just going to meet someone that's going to teach me about business. And the morning that we went for a run, Meg didn't want to go. She's like, I'm off, boys. I just split up with this guy. She's like, I'm not interested in going for a run with this dude. And it was a housemate that said, I know of this guy. Him and his brother are very smart in business. You should go and meet with him just to go learn about business.
This is the first time you guys met.
This is before we met, yeah. This is the morning
That's
of.
Did you guys just run together though? Just you two, or was it
Yeah,
other people?
It was just the two of us.
But as in, he DM'd me, but I wasn't going to go.
Because you had just split up with someone, or?
I mean, months before, but I just was not I was not interested. I was just really focused on myself and figuring out what I wanted to do. And then that's when my housemate, Beck, said, no, just go and he'll teach you about business. I think she knew I would like him, but that was her way of getting me to actually go. Nothing against Will, as in, I just thought he looks like a attractive dude, super successful, bit of a naughty boy. I didn't know that he would also have such a good heart. And then so I went for the run, and as soon as I came home, I said, great, now I like someone. Like, that's stuffed up the plan, but obviously
It's always the case though, when you're not looking.
Yes.
You find.
Of course, man.
It's always the case, because when you are looking, you give off a disgusting smell that you need something.
Hello.
Yeah. So, but talk to me about you, Will. Let's go back to, how old are you now?
I'm 31.
31.
32 this year in November.
Let's go back 10 years, 21.
Okay.
And how were you as a kid, straight after school? What did you do? And let's go with that.
We'll go back a few more years to set it up. So, man, I matured very late. As in, man, I didn't get armpit hair till second year uni. As in, I developed very late. I was the shortest in my grade, all the way up to grade 12. And I think a part of that is there was a couple of insecurities that developed with that. But I was always extroverted. I was always fired up. And I always had this knack to want to see people do well and succeed. And some people liked that. Some people just thought I was just annoying.
He's intense.
But I never had, the only thing I had a real drive for growing up was snow skiing. And at the end of every year, I would come to light and all my purpose would fire up, and I'd go for a skiing with my family every year for a month in Japan, which is phenomenal in terms of how fortunate we were to do that. But I had no drive anywhere else. As in, it was a running joke that Will could work so hard in his 20s because he spent his teens on the floor at home sleeping. But just like your story, so I resonated with it so much, was that all it took for one thing was that I was at university with my best mate from primary school, and we used to sit at the back and stuff around. Like, dude, I failed Introduction to Business Management. I should have got kicked out for that at university. If you fail Intro to Business Management and you're studying business, see you later, dude. I failed. I got a 2. And then so they did a 2 out of 7. And so I was at university and I wasn't doing much. I was just partying with my mates 4 nights of the week, surfing on the weekends, and just waiting for the end of the year to go skiing. And I was in university with my mate. And I love this story was because he just didn't show up one week. And I was like, oh, he just didn't show up. And the next week he didn't show up. And I shot him a message, said, where are you? He goes, dude, I've dropped out. I'm going to become a PT. 6 months later, I get a call from him. He's like, yo, dude, let's go surfing. I'll come pick you up on Saturday. It looks good. Picks me up, man. I am 18, dude. I am making close, like hard press trying to make $600 a week as a waiter. I got no money. I'm at university. I got no direction, no drive other than skiing. And he comes and picks me up in a secondhand Audi. This thing's like 40 grand. I'm like, holy crap. I saw this guy 6 months ago. He's driving around a 40 grand car, a secondhand car. But I was always so inquisitive. So I was just in the car, just banging him with questions. What are you doing? How'd you do it? What was the setup? And he just became a PT. And he was, at that time, he said, I'm making $1,500 a week as a personal trainer. I was like, that's crazy money. He's like, yeah, I bought this car. I've done this. I'm doing this now. I just dropped out. It's happened to me in 6 months. And we're out in the water. I'll never forget this. And he said, Will, how many surfers do you think there are in the surf right now? I said, we're at D-Bar. I go, 100. He goes, every single person in this water has a business idea. One person out of this 100 will actually pursue it. What's your business idea? And I go, I don't know the business idea. He goes, yeah, you do. And I told him my idea. And he said, dude, I hear business ideas all the time from being successful in what I'm doing. And most of them are bad. That's a really good idea. And it was before there were any student job sites for students to get jobs. There was Seek, there was Indeed, and that was it. And I said, I want to make this Seek for students, for businesses that want to employ casual students, and students can go in there and get jobs because students don't have an experience. He's like, dude, that's a really good idea. I said, oh, okay, thanks. He goes, how do you start? And I go, I don't know, dude. I just wrote it down in a book. He goes, no, you got to start that. And I went, I don't know how to start that. And he said, what's the first thing you could do to start it? I said, I guess I could get a logo. He goes, okay, who do you call for a logo? I said, I don't know. He goes, go Google it. Anyway, drops me off. We get back home and he says, Will, just do one thing this week. Get a logo for your business. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Awesome, man. Thanks. Go inside. A week later, he calls me. Will, how you going, man? Sam, you good, bro? What's going on? How'd the logo go? What are you talking about? How'd the logo go? Oh, he goes, you didn't do anything, did you? I said, no. And he said to me, this is my language. Luckily, he said this to me. Or fortunately, he said this to me. He said, Will, you're a fucking loser and you'll always be a fucking loser. And hangs up. And just like you were sitting on the bed when you got cut from that team, I sat on my bed, black phone, remember it, put it down. And I went, I'm a fucking loser. I didn't do anything this past week. And I sat on my computer and I Googled someone, got on a phone. In 2 days, I had a logo. And from that one thing, everything changed. I was up every morning. I never slept on the ground. I was at bed early. I was working on this thing nonstop. And that business didn't work. It didn't matter though. It was, I just needed to find one thing that lit me up and gave me purpose. And everything off the back of that changed. And so then my younger brother and I, we've always been close. We got into business together. And the first thing we started off with was, he actually started it, was we ran all of Brisbane's underage parties. So we used to hire out venues, go do leases on buildings, short-term leases, and then we'd go and speak to Jack. We had a Facebook group and people would message us and say, hey, I've got my formal post, or I've got this birthday from year 10, 11 and 12. We want to host a party. And we'd have it free for the person who hosted and everyone else paid $15 entry. And we only accepted the party if they created a Facebook group and got more than 300 attending. So we just ran all of Brisbane's underage parties. And it was like the worst intro into business because it was too easy. We were teenage kids making 20, 30 grand a week. Like Jack looked like a drug dealer. He's rocking up to the bank on Monday mornings with a satchel full of cash. And it's all 5s, 10s and coins and things like that from kids dropping their money off because we were running 3 or 4 parties a week. And then on holidays, we were running back-to-back nights and double nights. So on the weekends when there was a formal, we'd run a normal party from 7 till 11, shut it down, clean it, and then the formal person would come between 1 and 4.
And these are like warehouse parties.
These are the warehouse parties. And so, and how it worked was the loophole in the law was that because I was 18, so I was adult supervision. We had security. Like we did this thing properly. We had public liability, like we had it dialed in. But parents could give their kids alcohol and the kids could walk in the front door and then they could drink inside the party and do whatever they want inside the party and then they could leave. So it was a condoned place of kids to come and party and drink and do whatever they want. And the cops liked it because most of the kids on the weekends were in the one place. So they knew where all the if anything was going to happen, it's going to happen in that one place. And we ran that for, 14 or 15 months. And overnight, new legislation came out. Bang, we'll shut down.
What was the legislation?
They said that if you had a checklist of 3, if you had a gathering of more than 10 people, that there was 2 things. A gathering of more than 10 people, that there was a noise complaint about, it was an on-the-spot 10 grand fine.
Jeez.
And the head of the Dutton Park Police Station, who were because we used to register every party, we did all really well, called me and said, yo, they're trying to make, he didn't say yo, he said, hi, Will. They were trying to make an example of someone to hit the fine with, and they were like, they're going to make it you if you run one more party. You would have had 3 fines last weekend. We're like, we've got to cut 30 grams of the fines. That's crazy. Literally after that phone call, that business got shut down. And then Jack and I went to Japan with the family. We were skiing. We're like, dude, what do we want to do? And then at the time, my mum had a friend who wanted some help with the lawns. So I didn't need the money, but on Sundays, I just go around to their place, get my shirt off, get some sun, and just go mow the lawns. I said, Jack, we should start a gardening business. And I never forget, he goes, dude, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Why would we start a gardening business? And I was like, no, seriously, man, get out, get some sun, mow some lawns, good money. I reckon we could scale it. It's not a very smart industry. We're smart dudes. We'll figure it out. And then that's how we got into construction through gardening. And then that's when we were 19. And then we properly dropped out of university when I was 20. And then, because we ran the parties for a bit. Then I remember when I was 22 and Jack was 20 or 21 and 19, we dropped out of university and we started Martin Brothers Contracting. And we went all in on landscaping. But at the same time, similar to you, man, we had apps going because we had all this cash saved. But we were like, dude, we're going to be business magnates. Like we started up a similar thing to Kayla Itzine. She had the Bikini Body Challenge. We got the 8 biggest female influencers in the world to come on board. And we actually developed this thing called My Body Journey. We were going to release these programs similar to what Kayla was doing and scale them all over the world. Like our heads were going miles, 100 miles. We dropped 200 grand on app development.
How old were you?
Teens, 17 and 19.
How much money were you making? Like, did you have much money saved from all the parties?
Yeah. But then we actually took out a loan to then do the build on one of these apps. And we had 2 different businesses going that were trying to build at the same time as doing the gardening business. And the gardening business was also helping us bring in some more money because at that point we had about 8 or 9 staff. And we're trying to run these apps. And we went to this family party one night and I was speaking with this guy who was he was actually quite successful in business. He was the first person that said, they're all going to fail. And I was like, no, dude, everyone else around me is telling us we're killing it. And he goes, every single one of those businesses will fail. You need to focus on one. And he was so right. Because both the tech businesses tanked. We missed something and it stuffed up big time. Ripped 200 grand. And then that's when we went, look, we need to focus on the one thing that's actually working. Let's focus on gardening. But we didn't want to focus on it because it wasn't exciting. But we knew we could build it.
Wasn't the Instagram business like the health one that would like sweat with Kayla?
Oh man, we were talking with some of the biggest girls on Instagram and it was exciting. It was a scalable model. It was, or we could go and we could mow weed lawns and pull weeds out. And
so that one failed. He was right. All of them kind of dropped off and you started honing in on gardening. And then the gardening failed again?
No, the gardening has always stayed strong. That was the consistent one. And when we cut everything else out and we went all in on the landscaping business, it took off.
Okay. And then talk to me, fast forward a bit more into COVID when you started the sanitize business you were telling me about. Yep. What happened to the gardening business when you started that? Or were you running them simultaneously?
So the gardening business then got a lot more serious and turned into a landscape and construction business. And then we grew that and we had a very good reputation in Southeast Queensland for if you wanted to get a job done properly, commercial or residential, you use Martin Brothers. And just the work ethic because we just didn't know any better. It's like if we told someone we're going to get a job done that day, we would go and rent lights from Kennards and be there till 1 a.m. finishing their landscaping job. We just loved it. It was like if we told you we're getting something done, like it was getting done. And we didn't realize that the standard of the industry was not that. People weren't even showing up to quotes. People weren't even showing up to get the job done. And we were just chomping at the bit. Every time we won a lawn mowing job or a landscaping job, we just thought it was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Always celebrating the wins. Fast forward that, and it hit COVID. And just like you speak about yourself, is that we had some really good mentors in our life. And a great mate of ours, really successful guy, top dude, called us up and he said, boys, construction's going to go to zero. And mate, like, we're sitting at a house we bought on the ocean in Currumbin. I'll never forget it. He goes, construction's going to zero on a Sunday night. You guys, what's your plan B? I'm like, dude, we don't have a plan B. We got this construction business, and we bought a whole bunch of properties that have no income on them. So that's we only do plan A. And he went, well, you need to find a plan B right now. So then I drove back to Brisbane and got in the office. And I remember I got so hooked in on this, I didn't sleep. I didn't leave the office for 2 days. Just didn't sleep. And I was researching what to do online about what was happening with COVID. And I started to see what they were doing in the Asian countries, and they were sanitizing. And at that time, we had a construction business that had a maintenance arm. So they go do all the mowing and hedging and weeding and spraying and things like that. So it's like, we got 10 or 15 people here that are just doing maintenance. These guys know how to work with chemicals and sprays. We could do sanitizing. And then Jack and I had the goal of, we're not laying anyone off. Because we were like, everything we're doing right now, and dude, contracts started dropping left, right, and center. So all these jobs we were meant to start, 100 grand job, gone. 200 grand job, gone. 600 grand with the pipeline, boom. $1 million worth of work in the pipeline, bang. Just not gone, but stopped. So all the residential spend went to zero because people were so frightened about don't spend money. We had so much residential houses we landscaped. They all just went, look, we need to put this on hold.
And so then you pivoted that, and then you went from that into the sanitizing.
Yeah.
Have you guys met at this point?
No, this is years before we met.
This is years before you met. Didn't you say it was COVID though? 2020?
Yes.
We met 2021. So.
Okay,
sorry, that 1 year, yeah.
You met 2021. Yeah, I guess a lot of stuff happened in 2020. So then...
A lot happened.
So then you pivoted that business and you went into sanitizing. So you got all the staff to start sanitizing the buildings.
Well, we only had 2 of the staff actually from the construction business going to sanitizing because we still had enough work in the commercial space, but we didn't know how much worse it was going to get. But then what we thought was going to be a supplementary business became the business. And so fortunately we had some really good people in our company that I just called him, our old manager, who's the man, Chris. 3 a.m, I call him up and I said, you got to run this business. You run the whole thing. Jack and I need to focus on what we're doing here. We're sanitizing. You got it. And he went, done. And he killed it, nailed it. And so that business kept running and they just did their best within the commercial space because commercial didn't slow down. It was just residential. That business side kept going, but we didn't know if it was going to stop because everyone said commercial was about to stop too. But we started sanitizing, and then the need for sanitizing was just, the timing was just huge. And so we started just servicing some of our building maintenance contracts for sanitizing, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we employed hundreds of people. And
so this was all in 2020.
Yeah.
You employed hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And then you got to the end of when did you guys meet in 2021? Do you remember when it was?
Yeah, it would have been end of February in 2021.
End of Feb. You slid in the DMs on the 25th of January.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. So start of 2021, you guys met. When did all the shit hit the fan with that business?
Oh, this was in such a condensed period because everything was moving so fast. Okay. So the sanitizing, the whole servicing of sanitizing, it only lasts 3 or 4 months.
But it would have picked back up in 21, did it not?
No, because we weren't doing it then.
Okay.
It was growing so fast and the opportunity of work was right there. But everything in COVID was, I'll do what someone else is doing. So we had so many quotes out and we were waiting for one big client to be like, yeah, we'll go. And then everyone else was going to follow. But then as quick as sanitizing rose, it stopped because everything in COVID was driven by one thing, is the media. Mm. And the media was saying, sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. And then all of a sudden, sanitizing wasn't spoken about. Sanitizing was gone. It was social distance. So as fast as it built, it was as fast as it came back off.
And so when did all that fizzle out then? Was that mid 2020?
Must be around mid 2020. But again, with what Jack and I do, we thought, well, there's still an opportunity here. We had all these full-time, very smart people. We had a whole medical research team, we had a whole sales team. And we went, well, what can we do here? We've got all these great people and this good knowledge in this space. We were so dialed in with the knowledge in this space. We're the forefront of everything in terms of servicing this
Construction
sanitizing.
and the
No,
sanitizing.
just sanitizing. We're the forefront of it. We had the smartest people working on this, doctors, researchers, scientists. We had this phenomenal team. And we went, well, what can we do here? And then we actually started to help companies come back into the workforce. And we pivoted the business from sanitizing to, it's called SoulSafe. And it was an online accreditation that businesses could go and sign up to and get all their staff to do to learn about how to actually operate in this social distancing space. Then that went on for a couple of months. But then what changed was that when we did sanitizing, it lit me up because I felt like we were actually doing something great. I felt like we were doing something bigger than just the servicing of ourselves in the business. We were actually helping people stay at work. And our whole thing in the business was like, we're helping flatten the curve. And with how many properties we were servicing at the time, that we generally thought with the growth trajectory we were on, we were having a big impact on how people were operating within the environment at the time. When we went into the next style of business, I didn't feel that. I'm not a big fan of rules and bureaucracy and can't stand red tape. And people needed this information to get back in the workplace, but it was like, it's just to tick a box. And I didn't like that at all.
And so then when did you spoke a little bit about, and at this point, have you guys met?
No.
Still not met. Okay, so this has all happened really quick.
Yeah.
And what happened was you had a bit of conflict with your brother because you guys didn't want to go the same way?
We just had a difference of opinions. That's all it was. We were moving so fast at that time that he even moved to London at one point to run the business because a lot of our biggest clients were going to be coming from Europe and those areas, that we just didn't see eye to eye on how things were going to run and the future of it. So then it was hard for me as well because at the same time I had a bulge disc in my back. So I was back in hospital, had surgery in my back. And then when I came out of that, I was like, look, I'm not interested in working in this space. And then I went back into landscaping. And then that all fizzled down, realized it wasn't going to work, packed that up, and we both went back into landscaping. But from going through that period of time of working in sanitizing, that spark lit in me, and I was like, yo, there's a place that you can work in where you can actually help more people than just yourself. And then when we went back into landscaping, it's a great business, good people around us. But then the environment of landscaping changed massively after COVID as well. Every day you went to work in construction, and anyone that works in commercial construction felt this. It was a fight every day. It was no longer business as normal. It was everyone was for themselves. Everything was contractual based. Everyone was fighting all the time. No one was paying bills. There was no trust. After COVID, it was just demolished. And so it was just a very toxic place to work in. And then recently after I got back, a few months going back in the business, that's when I met Meg, and that's when Mega Run started. And then the Mega Run was that same feeling, but to a whole new level of seeing people working towards something that was something that you were passionate about, but then it was so much bigger than yourself. And so then we're in that space for a year. And then without going into too much detail, there was just we never really fixed what was going on between us. There was a falling out over that in between myself and my family. And then Meg and I were just on this idea of going all in. And so I got to the point where I had a lot of people coming to me asking me for business advice. And then for the first time in my life, I felt, dude, I'm not about it. I'm telling people to follow what they're passionate about and go all in on what they're passionate about. And they're looking at me being like, look at the business, look at the cars, look at the travel, look at everything else. And I'm like, I'm not even doing it. I'm not even passionate.
So I want to tie this in with both of you guys. You met Will, businessman, flash, all this stuff. And that's when you guys met in a sense. It was like because you were saying, I just need to find someone that knows business. And you met this guy and he's the pinnacle of it. He's got these successful businesses. He's got all the proof to show it. And then what happened is over time, you started doing this Mega Run and Mega, and you were getting really passionate about this. But then simultaneously you had a little bit of a falling out with you and your brother, which was your business partner, your best friend.
Yeah.
Something changed in your life where you went from working on this business and doing this and being the businessman to not having that anymore? Like, did that play? Was that how it went, or? It
was more so, and so many people would have felt like this in different areas of doing a degree and doing that job and being like, this isn't it. It was, we'd built such a successful business. We did crazy things in our 20s, as in, I'd never said this before, but by 24, I was a millionaire at 24. And that only grew all through our 20s. We did some insane stuff, awesome 20s. But then when it got to the point of, we spoke about progression, when the business didn't feel like it was progressing anymore, and we got to that whole point of then having a taste of what it's like to work in something that was just bigger than just yourself, what changed was I started to ask myself different questions. I was like, dude, this can't be it. And then going and being in hospital, having a bulge disc in my back, I was like, I've got a bulge disc in my back because I was just working. I was working when we were during that period of COVID, the sleep schedule, and we wanted to do this. I loved it, but it wasn't sustainable. It was one night I didn't sleep, and the next night I got 4 to 5 hours, and we did that straight for 6 months, and it just ruined my body.
And how did you feel like spending all this time building something with your best friend and your brother, and then kind of having that falling out and not only losing contact with your brother, but also your best friend? Like, how was that in that moment?
Dude, no one's asked me these questions. I've already spoke about it, but I mean, like, it's all in the past now. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through, hands down, because you said before, how important is it to have this with Meg? Everything we're doing comes second to the relationship. Everything. Nothing matters as much as the relationship. And if you want to have a phenomenal business partner, a phenomenal partnership in life, you need to love them or feel like you love them even more than they love you. And you need to want them to win more than you want yourself to win. That's the better one. You need to want them to win more than you want to win. And I felt that's what we had. And when we lost that, and I felt like we weren't on the same page with that anymore, I was going to work for our relationship. And when I felt like we didn't have that anymore, it was like, there's no point to doing this. I don't care how much money we're making. This is just empty. What's the point? I didn't see any point in doing it. And then it was the only time in my life where I actually felt lost and I felt down. And it's a classic case of, especially as a man, when you don't have a purpose, if you don't have meaning in life, you are lost. And what Meg and Will did was it just brought so much purpose and meaning back into my life. And we had no plans of it to grow or have a business out of it or anything else like that. But just seeing how much we loved it and seeing how much other people loved it, I was like, dude, there is something that is along the lines like this. And because I'd learned so much in business through construction, investing, mining, property, all this different stuff, videography, all these things we're involved in and invested in and started, I knew so much about business. But I was like, I'm missing that part where you just do it completely for the love of it. And that's when I started to realize the difference between goals and results. Money is never and should never, ever, ever be a goal of anything. It should be the result. The goal should always be to add value or to pursue something for the love of it. And the result of that can be enormous amounts of money. Not against money, but I was doing something with the goal of making money. And it's great when you're progressing and the money keeps getting bigger. But if that gets affected, or if that growth starts to slow down, which you get in construction, because there's only so many people you can employ before the quality drops. When the progression goes and you sit there with yourself, and this is the reason why there were so many changes, more changes in the world ever for industry changing, was during COVID. And the reason why that was because it was the first time in a very long time, maybe ever, that the whole world was told, you can't escape. You can't drink on the weekends. You can't go see your friends. You can't go on holidays. You can't do all these things. You have to go to work and you have to be in your relationship and see your kids every single day without any escape. And I went through that and I was like, this is my reality. I was like, I want to change this. And so many people, that's why they changed during COVID, was because they had no more escapes. Bro, before COVID, we were traveling 4 months of the year. Surfing overseas, skiing, Europe, bang, like whatever popped up, we're like, oh, let's go do that. Boom.
I guess it forced you to realize who you truly were as well as a person, and you maybe had these crises of like, all right, I've been doing all this my whole life, but I do these little escapes to get my mind off that. But when I'm actually in my actual life, I don't enjoy it as much, and I want change as well.
1,000%.
And Meg, obviously, Will's gone and had this big pivotal change. You've just met this person, fallen in love with him pretty quickly, I'd assume, since you got married, 12 months after. Like fall in love with him pretty soon, but then it's kind of at this stage where you go, when I knew Will, he was this guy that had a lot of security. And in your mind, at least if I was a woman and I was thinking, I think security. And then you meet this crazy man 6 months down the line, you're already in love with him, and he's like, I don't give a fuck about security. Let's put it all on the line.
That's a good question,
Let's
man.
put it all on the line. But by this point, it's not like maybe if you just met him and he was saying that, you might have gone, this isn't for me. But by this point, you had already loved him. Was it very hard having the same belief that he has in it succeeding, even when you don't know how it's going to succeed?
I think the thing is that I was never in love with the things that he had, or the money that he had, or the cars, or even the representation of him. As in, I didn't expect that the person that would teach me about business would also be the person I would marry. But the things that I loved in him are the things that made him good at business. And so I was never, definitely it's been hard, but I was never questioning him, because he's the kind of person that I know no matter how hard it gets, he will just keep picking it up. As in, he will just keep working. And I also know that in myself, we will just keep going until it works. So it's not necessarily whether or not this works, as in if Mega doesn't work, it'll be something else. As in, I have no doubt of that. I think the times that I get nervous are more times when I think, oh, but I'd like to have kids soon, or, when you put expectation on it, that's literally when it gets hard. But I never married him thinking that, I want to drive around in rootsy cars and things like that. Of course, I want to have a stable living, mainly for the kids that I have in the future. But no, I was in love with his ambition and his incredibly glass half full attitude. He is definitely that, whereas often I can be the realist in the relationship. And yes, we got married very fast, but I think everything that we went through was a pressure cooker together. And plus, when you love someone and you see them sad when they're a phenomenal person, my role as a girlfriend or a wife is to give them the confidence and encourage them to do what's going to make them the best version of themselves, which for me, it didn't matter if he left the business with everything or with nothing. I just wanted him to be what I believe he's capable of being.
And having belief, I think for me, when I look at what I want in a partner, I think belief is so important. Like just having belief in me, being a fan, number one fan, and just having my back, exploring the most ludicrous ideas with me with an open mind is something that I hold really highly. And I see that, but I also recognize that for people like Will and I, it can be hard when we have this ridiculous risk tolerance where we go, fuck, nothing really matters. We'll make it work. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But then you're like, come on, babe. Like, I want to have a secure house so my kids can make sure there's a roof over their head.
Yeah. Meg's more like, I want to be able to buy a coffee without stressing. As in, that was this past year for
more
us.
a coffee for my parents rather than even myself. As in, I love sharing things with people. It's probably hard.
Because it got real, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And
that was like, but that was my fault. As in, that was my doing. As in, there was a breakdown in whatever I had, without going into details. When we decided to go all in on what we were doing, I didn't sort things out in probably the most appropriate way in terms of financially. And with long story short, I took nothing. And it's like, did the clean cut, I'm out, done, sign everything off. And Meg and I went overseas. I sold my car, Meg sold her car. We got about 212 grand. And we booked a one-way ticket over to Portugal a few months later. Once we realized we wanted to go all in on the clothing. We didn't really know that at that point. But when we went overseas, we had a one-way ticket to Portugal. And we sold everything for it and went, we're going to make a go of this. So to answer your question, dude, it's been really challenging for Meg for the past 14 months. And man, I'll say this, she's done such a phenomenal job to have that belief, because there's so many points in it when she could have been like, dude, this isn't fucking working. What do you want about?
Yeah. And so you like you said you had all these houses, you're a millionaire. Like, how did all the money go? Where did it disappear to?
I just gave it to my business partner. I just signed it all off and said
to your brother.
Yeah, it's done.
Till it's done. You just didn't want anything to do with it?
Do you know what? Credit to Will is that he's always said, I will never let money come between my family. And unfortunately, I think at the time, in his heart, he thought that giving everything to his brother would mean that he could preserve his relationship with his brother, because I know that that's the core of why he did that. And I mean, it's not my money, so I support them in whatever they want to do. But I do wish that they had sorted it out, because I actually think that the relationship would have been better off if they did, because it's non-existent now.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess from your standpoint, when you experience this, you see the hard times that Will goes through with that. Like, I can only imagine, Meg, like there's probably, because you've got so many things going on in your mind, because it's like you care about him, you want the best for all of that. Like, it's like he's he's like your ride or die. And then you see all that go through, but then you've also got this stuff in your mind of wow, like this is us, and now we have to fucking start again and start from scratch. What are we going to do? And then you got this guy going, nah, it's all going to be all good. It's all going to be all good. Because I know what it's like. I know what it's like. Like, when I left my job, I booked a trip to Thailand on credit. Like, it's stupid. I don't recommend that to anyone, but I'm just saying like it adds unnecessary stress. But clearly the last 14 months, as you said, has been an extremely stressful time. How's that played a role for you? Like, dealing with that, is there any big lessons? Has there been some real times where you've not seen light at the end of the tunnel?
Definitely. It is such a good question. I think it felt like, because before all of this happened, I was loving my life. As in, I would say my life was very comfortable, as in terms of Will was the one that was bringing in the income mainly. I had contracts with businesses and stuff like that, but not remotely in the scheme of what Will was earning. And so I was just doing my thing, living my passion, cooking, and just, doing whatever I wanted to do pretty much, which was great because I still had my own thing that I wanted to do. It wasn't like I was just sitting at home doing nothing. But when that left, it also dented the family. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but they didn't like me. Because I came in at a bad time. I believe that's the reason. I kind of copped the blame for what was happening with the boys and the business and everything like that. So for me, it actually affected me way more than I thought. I thought I had really built my confidence on sturdy ground and nothing was going to affect me and everything like that. But it kind of felt like everything was taken away. But now, and it was really, really hard. But now I'm reflecting on it, it was the best thing that ever happened, because it forced me to rebuild myself again when I thought I already had done that, but go all over again and go, okay, actually, it wasn't built on as sturdy ground as what I thought it was. So in our relationship, it's definitely been put in a pressure cooker. But I think that, when we got married, we thought our love was deep. And now through everything that we have faced, it's thinking, man, it was not that deep. As in, it was, anyone looking from the outside would think it was so deep, and it was deep. But then we realized there is so many more levels to this, as in when you have to, the only way to do it is to draw together and be a team. And me reflecting, as in, one thing that I did do a lot of was going, oh man, you just should have sorted it out with your brother, or I should have done more. I should have helped you sort it out or encouraged you to sort it out or whatever. You always look back and say what you could have done better. But then I realized, actually, no, every part of this was meant to happen. And every hard part is just adding to the story when we actually do make it happen. And I also believe that we are doing too much good in the world for it not to work. As in, we are good people, we are helping people, and everything that we do, we're going to do to the best of what is possible. So, eventually it's got to work.
For sure. And in terms of is there hopes for like a rebuild with that relationship with the family? Like, are you
these are deep questions, man.
And obviously you don't need to answer these questions, but I just see in Meg's face when you're explaining that they don't like you. Yeah. And I feel like that's not a very it's not nice for anyone to hear that, right? Especially seeing it's like the person that you love. Do you feel like there's, and again, like answer this however you like or don't answer it, but it's just like, do you feel like there's going to be a level of peace when you can build towards repairing that in terms of like being able to do things as a family and be respected within a family?
Man, the relationship will come back together. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. It's just time, and time heals everything. And man, I was this, as in, I take full responsibility for it because I was the one that changed. I quit. I say to myself, like, I was the quitter. We had a plan with these businesses, and we had the plan with our family and what we meant to do before Meg came in the picture. It's like I was the one that changed. I was asking different questions in life. I wasn't happy with where I was. And so I don't blame them for any of it. I take full responsibility for it because I wanted something different. And it was tough because then you got to be selfish, right? Which I advocate for everyone. If you are not happy within yourself, you cannot fully help others. You have to be happy within yourself. And I wasn't. And I look back on it and I never liked the word depression, but dude, I was depressed for sure. I was definitely depressed. And for me, with this level of energy, I couldn't comprehend that I was even at that stage. So man, I made the calls, I quit from the plan and I moved on. I caused the turmoil that happened within that space. And I wish that I handled it better because I didn't. I got emotional about it because Meg was involved. If it was just me, I wouldn't have been as emotional. But because it was Meg being involved and Meg being brought down and Meg being blamed for things, it hurt, dude. Because say all the shit you want about me, whatever, don't care. But you bring someone else into it that's not right, then it just wasn't good.
But ultimately we both love and value family so highly. So
which is why it was tough, which is why we both just kept forcing things to try to make things work. But what I've come to realize is that it doesn't matter how good your intentions are, you might be the problem. It's like, oh, I'm trying to be a good person. I don't care, dude. Like, I was the problem.
And you know what's powerful in that though is extreme ownership. You're just taking ownership with everything that you do. And I advocate for this so much because if you put it on someone else, you're stripping away your opportunity to grow.
Bang.
And like you have to take ownership. Everything is my fault. Every single thing is my fault because what benefit is me saying anything else? There's zero benefit. And I think when I look at this and the reason I ask these questions and I know they're tough and I'm not trying to say them.
Good questions, yeah.
I'm not trying to say them with disrespect to your privacy and stuff. It's more so just to get things like this out where we can understand that like it's a hard thing to go through. It's far from ideal. But the way you answered that by saying, yeah, it's me, it's all me, is the most powerful response ever because that means you're going to grow and you have grown.
Of course, dude.
And what's going to happen is everyone is going to see that and that will build back up and it's going to strengthen.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's like, as you said, you've got to love yourself. Like you've got to be pouring from a full cup. Like if you don't feel full within yourself and you're just trying to do stuff to please everyone else, that's the most unfulfilling like life you can possibly live.
But that's most of society, right?
Exactly right. And so I think it's really inspiring. Like you guys are just, it's so awesome to see like Alex Hormozy talks about like when all the shit hit the fan with him and Layla and
cool story. Yeah.
And Layla says to him, I'll sleep under a bridge with you if I have to.
Yeah, he said, you need to leave. And she said, I'll sleep under a bridge. That's Meg.
Yeah. And that's just so awesome. Like respect to you guys. And we could speak for like 12 hours. And
it's a funny number.
And everyone listening is just going, mate, let's speak for 12 hours. But I think like we're coming towards an end now. We've got someone else coming in today. And I just want to commend you guys as well. I just want to say like what you guys are doing is so awesome. And as I was saying after coffee, I got in the car and I just started like, something just sparked in me. Something just like lit up in me because I know how hectic the last little bit's been for me. And I know how fucked it is. And I know how lonely it is. It's like, it's not loneliness in the sense that you're not getting enough attention. It's loneliness in the sense that you have no one to relate to. You have no one that understands you. You have no one that you can call that will honestly just be able to sit there and go, look, mate, I get it. I know the feeling. And like, that's the type of loneliness that at least I went through in the low times. I don't know where you guys are at in your journey, but like, I just felt it. And after we spoke at the cafe, I was just like, holy shit, like, respect for what you're doing and where you're going. And it's not only you that need to hear this, it's everyone listening that might be going through a tough time. Is like, you're going to make it out. It's like, you just got to keep going, and you truly will. And I just am so admired and inspired by you guys. So thank you so much.
Oh man, it goes straight back, brother. We loved hearing the story. It's that but the thing is, you've done the thing. And what I was saying before was, it's the only option. When you have that feeling inside that something isn't right, it's because all the answers are within here. You don't think your way through things in life. You actually feel your way through things, and the feeling wasn't right. It takes a huge amount of courage to go after that feeling within, and you did that. That's why we resonate. And Meg's done that. That's why the three of us kicked it off. But it's like, if anyone that's listening, is if you have that feeling, you have to pursue it. You have to, because that's the calling comes from in here, not from up here. And you just got to get into it and just take the first steps and start doing it. Because you know what the number one thing that holds people back in life? What do you think it is? What's the number one thing holding people back in life?
I reckon it's what other people think.
Bang. It's not a lack of self-belief. It's the opinions of others and what you think other people think. And as you said at coffee, dude, no one fucking cares. No one cares as much as you care. No one's coming to save you. No one's doing the work for you. But if you can sit with yourself for long enough, block out the noise and listen to what's in here, you will know the direction to take and what path to go on. And it does not matter how crazy it seems to everyone else, because you know it. And it's like, just dig into that.
I love it. I love it. And just before we wrap up, Meg, is there something like, I'm just so fascinated because we didn't go through some of the stuff I wanted to talk about, where you post all this content online, which I love, by the way, and you've shared a couple of quotes and some stuff online, just with people, like things about running and things that you really love. But during these like certain challenges, is there anything that you kind of get peace listening to? Or is there anything in particular that you like, you just really enjoy? Like, is there something that helps you? Like during when you're in these like uncertain times where your sicko boyfriend thinks it's great when it's like Will's like uncertainty, yes, and Meg's like uncertainty. Fuck, Will, why are you so confident with this thing, man? Like, is there anything that gives you some peace? You don't have to answer it. Maybe there isn't, but I just don't know. Sometimes people like, there's certain things that I like to hear that is kind of like, that's good to know. It's reassuring. Like, is there anything for you?
Yeah, Meg's got an answer for this.
I think, I'm a believer in God. So I believe that there is a greater power, whether you believe in the universe or whatever you believe in. But I do believe there is too much going on here for it not to be destined to be something great. So for me, I have this feeling inside myself, and I feel like everyone has it, but because they surround themselves with so much noise, they can't actually hear it because it's only a whisper inside. But when you can take some time, even if you don't believe in God, take some time and find stillness, then you can actually hear that feeling inside you. And everything that we do, as Will said, is based off feeling. So when you can tell when something's right or wrong that you're going to do. It's just that half the time the right thing is the harder thing. So you just keep creating noise and convincing yourself you should be going the other way. So for me, it's probably getting time actually alone, whether it's a run, a walk or something like that, and just actually going into my thoughts and feelings and thinking, okay, where am I actually at? Is this the right path? And I feel resistance before I do it, but after I have done it, it's so much better, because then you just have peace knowing that this is the path you're supposed to be on. And whilst right now you don't understand why all this stuff is going wrong, you just know it's all part of the journey. And I also get pumped up on the fact that everything that goes wrong is just adding to the story. And every hard thing that you face allows you to touch someone that has experienced that same thing. As in, the depth of trouble and trauma that you've been through is actually the depth of ability that you have to help others. That's my feeling. You become useful. That's what's powerful about it, because you've been through shit. People can relate to you. You become useful. And that's when you go through more shit. Not only do the highs feel so amazing,
but you just become useful to help all those other people pull them out of the mud as well. Be that 3 steps ahead, not too far where you're too far away, but they feel like they can nearly reach you, and you're the person that's going to help them. And you mentioned, like, I want to read the final thing to you, which is the Bible verse you have in your bio. So it's Phil 4:13. Is that how you say it? I don't. Yeah,
Philippians.
Philippians 4:13. It's notoriously misused. After telling his audience that he experienced both poverty and affluence, the Apostle Paul writes these well-known words: "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Talk to me about that and why you have that one in your Instagram bio.
Well, I don't know what the section was before it, but I have that in my bio because I think that in every moment of struggle, when I have turned to God, it doesn't mean don't do action, as in there's a big difference in terms of religion and relationship, but I believe that when you are in huge amounts of struggle and you turn to God, and I just always feel this peace, as in people often ask me why I believe in God, and it's like saying that my dad is my dad. It's just a fact. It's really hard to explain why. It's just, I just know. It's this
There's
knowing.
a level of peace to being able to put it up to the universe and say, it's meant to be.
Yes.
Like, this is happening to me for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's the relationship. Like, as you said, like, God and religion is 2 completely different things, right? But having a relationship with a God, which I'm not there yet, but every single name someone massive that's successful that doesn't have a relationship with God.
Yeah, that's so
Can't
true.
find it. You can't find it. Doesn't mean they have to be Christian or Jewish. They have some sort of relationship to God.
They have a higher belief.
And so I'm definitely open-minded to that, and I appreciate you sharing. But thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate
That's
you all.
been awesome.
And yeah, I'm sure the audience is going to love this. So thank you so much. And if you guys have stuck around to the end and you're not sick of my croaky voice, please leave us a review, and a good one, by the way, on Spotify, Apple. Helps the show grow, helps us keep getting amazing guests just like Meg and Will on the show. We can keep growing together. If you made it this far, make sure you check these guys out. I'll put all of their details in the show notes or the description below, depending on where you're watching this, so you can look at their story and follow along their amazing journey. I'm super inspired, and I hope you guys are too. But without further ado, I'll see you guys next week.